He may never admit that he likes you, but his body often speaks before his mouth does. Watch these four subtle signals because they can reveal feelings he's trying to keep hidden. Long before a man finds the courage to tell you how he feels, his eyes often begin revealing what his words are still trying to hide. Attraction doesn't always announce itself through grand romantic gestures or obvious compliments. More often, it appears in small, natural moments that happen without conscious effort. That's why paying attention to the way he looks at you can sometimes tell you more than listening to everything he says. Eye contact is one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication because it's difficult to control for long periods of time. A man can carefully choose his words, hide his emotions behind humor, or act completely casual, but his eyes frequently reveal where his attention naturally goes. If he genuinely likes you, you'll often notice that he maintains eye contact a little longer than necessary. Instead of quickly looking away, he seems comfortable staying connected through that simple glance. Another important detail is the quality of his attention. When someone is merely being polite, they may look at you while you're speaking, but become distracted by everything happening around them. A man who is emotionally interested behaves differently. His attention feels focused. He notices your facial expressions, listens carefully to your stories, and reacts naturally to your emotions. It becomes obvious that he isn't simply waiting for his turn to speak. He's genuinely interested in understanding what you're saying. You may also catch him looking at you during moments when you aren't directly interacting. Perhaps you're talking to someone else, laughing with friends, or concentrating on something across the room. Without realizing it, his eyes naturally drift towards you because your presence has become one of the most interesting things in his environment. These quiet glances often happen before he's even aware that he's doing it, making them one of the more authentic signs of attraction. Of course, it's important not to misunderstand a single glance. Looking at someone once or twice doesn't automatically mean romantic interest. Human beings naturally observe the people around them for many different reasons. The real difference appears through consistency. If you repeatedly notice that his attention returns to you, that he naturally seeks eye contact during conversations, and that his expressions soften whenever your eyes meet, those repeated patterns become much more meaningful than any isolated moment. Another subtle clue is the warmth behind his expression. Genuine attraction often creates a noticeable softness in the eyes. His face appears more relaxed, his smile arrives more naturally, and his overall expression communicates comfort rather than tension. Instead of looking guarded or emotionally distant, he seems genuinely happy simply being part of the conversation. This kind of warmth is difficult to fake because it comes from authentic emotional engagement rather than deliberate performance. Something else worth noticing is how present he becomes while you're together. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Phones buzz constantly, conversations compete for attention, and people often divide their focus between multiple things at once. When a man truly likes you, however, you'll often notice that his attention stays with you. He looks at you while you're speaking instead of repeatedly checking his phone or scanning the room. That sustained focus communicates respect as well as attraction. You'll also see that his eyes often reflect your emotions. If you're excited, he seems to brighten with you. If you're telling a meaningful story, his expression becomes more thoughtful. If you're laughing, he often begins smiling before he even realizes it. This natural emotional responsiveness shows that he's not simply hearing your words, he's emotionally connecting with your experience. That level of engagement usually develops when someone genuinely values the person standing in front of them. At the same time, it's essential to remember that body language should never be viewed in isolation. Some people naturally maintain strong eye contact because of their personality or cultural background, while others are shy and may struggle to hold eye contact, even when they're deeply interested. That's why it's always wiser to look for several consistent signs instead of relying on one behavior alone. Eye contact becomes much more meaningful when it's supported by respectful communication, reliable actions, and a sincere effort to spend time with you. As you continue observing his behavior, you'll begin noticing that his eyes are simply the beginning of a much larger picture. Genuine attraction isn't built on one glance or one smile. It's reflected through a collection of small, consistent behaviors that all point in the same direction. His eyes may be the first place those feelings become visible, but they're only opening the door to everything his body quietly communicates when his heart is becoming more and more interested in you. Most people pay attention to facial expressions when they're trying to figure out whether someone is interested in them. They watch for smiles, eye contact, or changes in tone. Yet one of the most overlooked signals is found much lower. A man's feet may seem like the last place to look for clues about attraction, but body language experts have long observed that our feet often reveal where our attention naturally wants to go. Unlike facial expressions, which people can consciously control, the direction of the feet is frequently an unconscious habit. Think about what happens during a group conversation. Several people may be standing together, talking and laughing. A man might politely look at everyone as they speak, but if he's especially interested in one person, you'll often notice that his feet remain pointed toward her. Even when someone else is talking, his lower body continues facing the person who has captured his attention. It's a subtle behavior that usually happens without any deliberate intention. This occurs because the body often aligns itself with what the mind values most in that moment. When we feel comfortable, curious, or emotionally engaged, our posture naturally orients toward the source of those feelings. A man who genuinely enjoys your company may unconsciously angle his feet and body toward you because, without realizing it, that's where he wants his attention to remain. You'll notice this even more clearly when the conversation begins shifting. Imagine several people standing in a circle. As individuals move around or new topics emerge, many people casually change their position. If he repeatedly adjusts himself so that his feet continue pointing toward you, it may suggest that you're the person he's most engaged with. Again, this doesn't prove romantic interest by itself, but it becomes more meaningful when it happens consistently. Another interesting clue appears when it's time to leave. Sometimes conversations naturally come to an end, and people begin preparing to walk away. If he likes you, he may hesitate slightly, keeping his body oriented toward you even as others start moving. His feet seem reluctant to point toward the exit because, emotionally, he's not quite ready for the interaction to end. These tiny moments often reveal genuine interest more honestly than carefully chosen words. Personal space also plays an important role. A man who feels comfortable around you may naturally position himself in a way that reduces unnecessary distance while still respecting your boundaries. His feet often accompany that movement, quietly directing his body toward yours. The key difference is that this feels relaxed rather than forced. Healthy attraction respects personal space instead of invading it. It's also worth paying attention to situations where distractions are present. Perhaps you're at a social gathering, a workplace event, or spending time with mutual friends. Even while participating in the larger group, his body frequently finds its way back toward you. His shoulders, hips, and feet gradually realign in your direction because that's where his attention keeps returning. These repeated adjustments often happen without him realizing he's making them. Of course, context always matters. There are many practical reasons why someone's feet might face a certain direction. The arrangement of furniture, the flow of people through a room, or simply standing comfortably can all influence body position. That's why it's important not to draw conclusions from one isolated observation. Looking for consistent patterns across different situations provides a much more reliable understanding of someone's interest. Another helpful point to remember is that body language should always support what someone's actions are already showing. If his feet point toward you but he rarely speaks to you, avoids spending time together, or behaves inconsistently, that body language alone doesn't carry much weight. On the other hand, if he regularly seeks conversations with you, remembers small details, maintains eye contact, smiles genuinely, and his body naturally faces you whenever possible, those signals begin reinforcing one another. Perhaps the biggest lesson is that attraction often reveals itself through comfort rather than performance. A man doesn't usually think, I should point my feet toward her so she'll know I like her. Instead, his body simply follows where his attention and emotions naturally want to be. Those unconscious movements are often more honest because they happen before careful thinking gets involved. As you continue noticing these subtle behaviors, you'll realize that no single body part tells the entire story. His eyes first revealed where his attention was focused. Now his feet quietly confirm where his body instinctively wants to stay. Together, these small signals begin painting a clearer picture of genuine interest, setting the stage for even more body language cues that naturally appear as his feelings continue growing stronger. Without saying a single word, the way a man carries himself can reveal a surprising amount about how he feels around you. Body posture is one of those quiet forms of communication that most people rarely think about, yet it constantly sends messages. When a man is genuinely interested, his shoulders, chest, and overall posture often begin changing naturally. He isn't necessarily trying to impress you on purpose. His body simply responds differently because your presence affects him more than he realizes. One of the first things you may notice is that he stands a little taller whenever you're nearby. His shoulders naturally straighten, his back becomes more upright, and his overall posture looks more confident. This isn't always a conscious decision. When people feel excited or emotionally engaged, they often carry themselves with more energy and openness. It's almost as though the body wants to project confidence before the mind has fully caught up with what's happening. His shoulders can be especially revealing. If they're relaxed and facing you directly during conversations, it usually signals that he feels comfortable and fully engaged. Instead of turning away or keeping one shoulder pointed toward the exit, he naturally squares himself toward you. That open posture communicates attention, respect, and interest. In contrast, someone who feels emotionally disconnected or eager to leave often angles their body elsewhere, even while continuing the conversation. The position of his chest can also provide subtle clues. A man who likes you will often keep his chest open rather than closed off. Open body language generally reflects emotional openness. You'll notice that he avoids crossing his arms for long periods, not because he's consciously thinking about body language, but because relaxed attraction usually creates a more welcoming posture. His body appears available rather than guarded, making interactions feel easier and more comfortable. Another meaningful detail is how he responds when you enter the room. Even before speaking, he may instinctively adjust his posture. He straightens slightly, lifts his head, or unconsciously becomes more aware of how he's standing. These tiny adjustments happen because your presence captures his attention. They're often so automatic that he has no idea he's doing them. Distance also plays an important role in understanding posture. A man who feels drawn to you may naturally lean in a little while you're talking, especially when the environment is calm enough for conversation. Leaning forward is often a sign of engagement because it reduces emotional and physical distance. Of course, healthy attraction always respects personal space. The goal isn't to invade your comfort, but to show genuine interest by being fully present in the interaction. You'll also notice that his posture remains consistent even when he isn't speaking. Many people become animated only during their own conversations, but appear distracted when someone else has the floor. A man who genuinely likes you continues facing you, maintaining an open posture and showing attentiveness while you're talking. His body quietly communicates, I'm here and what you're saying matters to me. That consistency often says more than any compliment ever could. Another interesting clue is how quickly his posture mirrors yours. If you relax, he may naturally relax as well. If you lean slightly closer during an engaging conversation, he may unconsciously do the same. This subtle mirroring isn't usually planned. Human beings often reflect the body language of people they feel connected to because emotional rapport naturally influences physical behavior. While mirroring alone doesn't prove attraction, it becomes another meaningful piece of the overall picture when combined with other positive signs. It's equally important to remember that personality influences posture. Some men are naturally confident and stand tall around everyone they meet. Others are shy and may appear reserved even when they deeply like someone. That's why body language should never be interpreted in isolation. Instead of asking whether one posture automatically means attraction, ask whether his behavior changes noticeably around you compared to how he interacts with other people. Those differences often provide much more reliable insight. As everything begins fitting together, a clear pattern starts to emerge. His eyes have already shown where his attention naturally goes. His feet quietly revealed where his body wants to stay. Now his shoulders and chest are demonstrating how emotionally present he becomes in your company. None of these signals alone can confirm romantic feelings, but when they consistently appear alongside respectful communication, genuine effort, and a desire to spend time with you, they create a much stronger picture. His body is no longer simply reacting to the moment. It is quietly reflecting the growing connection he feels every time you're together. Few things reveal genuine emotion as naturally as a real smile. Unlike carefully chosen words or rehearsed compliments, a sincere smile often appears before a person even has time to think about it. That's why it can be one of the clearest body language signals that a man genuinely enjoys being around you. When his feelings are real, happiness has a way of showing itself on his face without asking for permission. Not every smile carries the same meaning, though. People smile out of politeness every day. They smile to greet coworkers, acknowledge strangers, or keep conversations comfortable. Those smiles are perfectly normal, but they're usually brief and controlled. A genuine smile is different. It feels effortless. Instead of appearing only on his lips, it reaches his eyes, softens his expression, and gives his entire face a warmer appearance. You can often sense the difference, even if you can't immediately explain why. One of the strongest signs is how quickly he smiles when he notices you. Imagine walking into a room where he wasn't expecting you. Before any conversation begins, his expression naturally changes. His face brightens, his eyes become more animated, and that smile appears almost automatically. These reactions happen because seeing someone we genuinely enjoy often creates an immediate emotional response that the body expresses without conscious effort. You'll also notice that his smile lasts a little longer than usual. Instead of disappearing the moment the greeting ends, it lingers throughout the conversation. He seems genuinely happy to be there, and that feeling continues rather than fading after a few seconds. Long-lasting smiles often reflect emotional comfort because people naturally remain more expressive when they're enjoying someone's company. Another subtle clue appears during shared laughter. If he likes you, he doesn't simply laugh at jokes. He often laughs with you, even during small, ordinary moments that other people might not find especially funny. This doesn't mean he's pretending to enjoy everything you say. It means your presence itself makes interactions feel lighter and more enjoyable. Emotional attraction often increases the amount of joy people experience together, even in everyday situations. Pay attention to what happens after the laughter ends. A polite smile usually disappears immediately once the conversation returns to normal. A genuine smile often fades more slowly because the positive emotion remains. He may continue looking at you with a relaxed expression, still carrying traces of that happiness even after no one is speaking. Those quiet moments often reveal more than dramatic romantic gestures ever could. Another interesting behavior is how easily his smile returns whenever your attention comes back to him. Perhaps you're speaking with someone else, then suddenly make eye contact again. If his expression quickly softens into another natural smile, it suggests that reconnecting with you brings him genuine pleasure. These repeated emotional responses are often more meaningful than one isolated interaction because they reveal a consistent pattern rather than a temporary mood. Of course, personality plays a role here as well. Some people naturally smile more than others. A friendly, outgoing man may smile during nearly every conversation, regardless of romantic interest. That's why comparison becomes important. Ask yourself whether his smile seems different around you than it does around everyone else. Does it appear more frequently? Does it last longer? Does he seem noticeably happier in your company? Those differences provide much more valuable insight than simply noticing that he smiles. It's equally important to avoid treating a smile as absolute proof of attraction. A kind smile can also reflect friendship, respect, or good manners. That's why the healthiest approach is always looking at the complete picture. When his genuine smile appears alongside consistent eye contact, open posture, engaged conversations, and sincere effort to spend time with you, those signals begin supporting one another in a meaningful way. As the connection continues growing, his smile becomes less about making a good impression and more about expressing how he genuinely feels. He isn't smiling because he believes he should. He's smiling because your presence naturally creates positive emotions that are difficult to hide. Looking back, his eyes first revealed where his attention rested. His feet quietly showed where his body wanted to stay. His posture reflected growing emotional openness. Now his smile confirms something equally important. Being around you doesn't simply interest him. It genuinely makes him happy. And when that happiness consistently appears without effort, it becomes one more quiet sign that his feelings may be deeper than he's ready to put into words. Beyond facial expressions and posture, a man's hands can quietly reveal how comfortable and engaged he feels around you. Most people don't think much about hand movements during conversations, yet they often communicate interest in ways that words never do. When a man genuinely likes you, his hands usually become more expressive, more attentive, and more naturally involved in the interaction. These behaviors are rarely planned. They simply reflect the fact that his mind is fully present with you. One of the first things you may notice is that he begins using his hands more while talking. His gestures become animated because he's excited about the conversation and genuinely wants you to understand what he's saying. This isn't about putting on a performance. When people feel emotionally invested, they naturally become more expressive. Their enthusiasm shows through their movements just as much as through their words. Another subtle sign is how carefully he interacts with you during ordinary moments. If he's handing you a cup of coffee, passing you a book, or offering you something small, his movements often become more thoughtful and deliberate. There's a quiet sense of care in the way he does simple things. He's not rushing through the interaction. Instead, he seems more aware of you, and that awareness often reflects genuine interest rather than mere politeness. You may also notice that he instinctively offers help without making it feel like a grand gesture. If you're carrying something heavy, reaching for an item, or dealing with a small inconvenience, his hands are often the first to respond. He opens a door, picks something up, or lends a hand before you even ask. These actions alone don't prove romantic attraction, but when they happen consistently and respectfully, they suggest that your comfort has become important to him. Another interesting behavior is unconscious mirroring. During a relaxed conversation, he may unknowingly begin matching some of your hand movements. If you gesture while telling a story, he might naturally become more expressive as well. If you rest your hands calmly, his movements may gradually slow down too. This kind of mirroring often happens when people feel emotionally connected because the brain naturally synchronizes with someone it enjoys being around. Pay attention to how relaxed his hands appear. Nervousness can certainly make someone fidget, especially if they're attracted to you. He might adjust his watch, lightly tap his fingers, or briefly play with an object while gathering the confidence to speak. Those small movements don't automatically mean attraction, but they can reflect emotional excitement when combined with positive body language and genuine engagement. The key is noticing whether his nervousness softens as the conversation becomes more comfortable. At the same time, respectful attraction is always mindful of personal boundaries. A man who genuinely likes you doesn't need to invade your personal space or create unnecessary physical contact. Instead, his hands communicate consideration. If an appropriate moment arises, such as helping you over a step or offering support in a natural situation, his gestures remain gentle, respectful, and attentive. Healthy interest is expressed through thoughtfulness, not pressure. It's equally valuable to notice how focused his hands remain during conversation. Someone who is distracted often keeps checking their phone, fidgeting impatiently, or constantly looking for something else to do. A man who is fully engaged usually puts those distractions aside. His hands become part of the interaction rather than a sign that his attention is somewhere else. That quiet focus demonstrates that the conversation matters because the person he's talking to matters. Of course, no single movement should ever be treated as undeniable proof of romantic feelings. Some people naturally gesture more than others, and cultural differences can also influence how expressive someone is. That's why context always matters. The strongest conclusions come from observing consistent patterns rather than isolated behaviors. When expressive hand movements are paired with warm eye contact, open posture, genuine smiles, attentive listening, and reliable actions, they become part of a much larger story. By now, the pattern is becoming much clearer. His eyes revealed where his attention naturally rested. His feet quietly pointed toward the person he wanted to be near. His posture reflected openness and emotional presence. His smile showed authentic happiness whenever you were together. Now his hands add another layer to that picture, expressing care, engagement, and thoughtful attention through everyday actions. Together, these subtle signals remind us that genuine attraction isn't usually announced through one dramatic gesture. More often, it's revealed through countless small behaviors that quietly say, "You matter to me," long before those exact words are ever spoken. After looking at each body language signal on its own, it's important to understand one final truth. No single gesture can tell you with certainty whether a man likes you. Human behavior is far too complex to be reduced to one glance, one smile, or the direction of someone's feet. Real attraction isn't hidden inside one body part. It's revealed when many small signals consistently point in the same direction over time. Imagine meeting a man who maintains great eye contact but never makes an effort to continue the conversation, or someone who smiles often but repeatedly cancels plans and rarely reaches out. Those individual behaviors might seem encouraging at first, but they don't tell the whole story. Genuine interest always extends beyond body language. It eventually becomes visible through consistency, effort, and the way someone chooses to treat you day after day. That's why the biggest mistake people make is focusing on isolated moments instead of recurring patterns. One warm smile could simply be friendliness. One lingering glance might happen by coincidence. One kind gesture could reflect good manners. However, when you repeatedly notice the same positive behaviors appearing together, the picture becomes much clearer. His eyes seek yours during conversations. His body naturally turns toward you. His posture opens whenever you're nearby. His smile becomes more genuine around you. His hands express attentiveness and care. Most importantly, his actions continue matching those nonverbal signals. That combination carries much more meaning than any single clue ever could. Another essential piece of the puzzle is emotional consistency. Attraction isn't only about how someone behaves during exciting moments. It's about whether that interest remains present over time. Does he continue making an effort after the first conversation? Does he remember details you've shared? Does he follow through when he says he'll call or meet you? Does he create opportunities to spend more time together? Those choices reveal genuine intention because they require effort rather than instinct. You'll also notice that when a man truly likes you, his body language becomes increasingly natural instead of overly calculated. He isn't constantly trying to impress you with rehearsed gestures or exaggerated confidence. In fact, many of his most meaningful signals happen without him realizing it. His attention stays focused on you because he enjoys your company. His smile appears because seeing you genuinely makes him happy. His posture opens because he feels comfortable around you. Authentic attraction usually feels relaxed rather than performed. It's equally important to remember that personality influences body language. An outgoing man may naturally smile, joke, and maintain eye contact with many people. A quieter man may be more reserved even when he feels deeply attracted to someone. That's why comparison can be helpful. Instead of asking whether he smiles at all, notice whether he smiles differently around you. Instead of asking whether he talks to people, observe whether he consistently gives you more attention than others. The differences often reveal more than the behaviors themselves. Context matters as well. A noisy social event. a professional workplace, or a stressful situation can all affect the way someone expresses themselves. Body language should always be interpreted within the environment in which it occurs. Someone who seems reserved in a crowded room may become much more expressive during a quiet one-on-one conversation. Looking at the broader context prevents misunderstandings and leads to much more accurate observations. Perhaps the most valuable lesson is that healthy attraction is never based on decoding secret signals alone. The goal isn't to become an expert at analyzing every movement someone makes. The goal is to recognize whether their body language and their behavior tell the same story. Respect, honesty, reliability, thoughtful communication, and genuine effort will always matter more than any unconscious gesture. Body language can offer clues, but character confirms the truth. Looking back over everything we've explored, a complete picture now comes into focus. His eyes quietly revealed where his attention naturally rested. His feet pointed toward the person he wanted to stay close to. His shoulders and chest reflected openness and confidence in your presence. His smile expressed happiness that couldn't easily be hidden. His hands demonstrated care and engagement through small, thoughtful actions. Now, when all of those signals consistently appear together, and when they're supported by dependable actions, sincere communication, and mutual respect, you no longer have to rely on one body part to understand how he feels. His entire presence begins speaking the same language. And while words are always important, there are moments when a person's consistent actions and natural body language quietly reveal what their heart has been saying all along.